The game has changed. Introducing Adalo. You don't need to code to create amazing apps. With advancements in design tools and development languages, we're entering a brave new world where you can drag and drop and make an app. This allows anyone the ability to turn their vision into real working software. With Adalo, creating no-code apps is simple. All you have to do is drag and drop in components like an image list, navigation bar, buttons, and text. Next, you create your database using simple spreadsheets built all in Adalo. After that, all you have to do is connect your design to your database. For example, choosing which data goes in this list. And then, voila, your app comes to life, a real native app built all by you. And the best part of all is that they're available on every platform, from the Apple App Store to Google Play to your own website. But simple doesn't mean it can't be powerful. With Adalo, you're in complete control of design, from shadows to text to borders and branding. We've taken the flexibility of modern design tools and put that into our platform so that you can make it how you want it. On top of that, we've added some pretty sweet features. You can add chat and trigger push notifications for just about anything. You can even set up advanced workflows like requesting and booking. So no matter what your process is, you can transform it into a simple user experience for everyone. You can even design apps for purchasing by adding custom formulas to calculate those pesky things like tax and tip, set up payments, subscriptions, save credit cards, ACH bank transfers, and more. But it doesn't stop there. Connect your Adalo apps together. You can have different experiences for different users. Trigger actions to happen in other apps, and even integrate directly with your own API. Finally, a simple way to build an app that's just as powerful as possible. Turn your startup idea, your side hustle, or your client's dream into reality with Adalo.
Wow, that was all great stuff packed into one 2-minute commercial. But however, you will hear more today from the educator behind Adalo, Lacey Kesler, as she walks you through how Adalo is helping companies bring their idea to life. And you can learn as well later on today from Doc Williams on building Adalo live. So stay tuned, check the event page as well. And also, we'll talk about some really cool promotions that Adalo is running during No Code Week and ongoing in the Startup Starter community. So make sure you create your Startup Starter free profile by going to startupstarter.co/join. But I want to go ahead and welcome our guest today, Lacey Kesler, educator at Adalo, as she walks you through reality of starting your business. Welcome.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I'm excited to have you here. We had you here yesterday. You spoke on the panel. You gave some really cool nuggets. You talked about what's going on in the world of no code and how Adalo is a part of that. But now they are able to really understand specifically on what you guys offer and what you guys bring to the market for these idea makers.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm thrilled to be here with you. Can you see my screen? Because I can only see me.
I can't see your screen yet, but I will pop it up there.
Okay.
I'm in control of the screen.
Oh,
so
got it.
I got you the whole way through. Don't worry. We're going to do this together.
Okay. All right. Good deal. Yeah, I am really happy to be here and happy to talk about turning your ideas into reality and using Adalo for those apps. And so it's going to be fun.
Yeah. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. I'll let you take it away. I'll see you guys back here at the end. Continue to check the comments and leave your questions during Q&A, and she'll be able to answer some of those at the end. And again, we're also going to have a networking session at the end on no code versus low code. So check it out. I'll see you at the end.
Thanks. Okay, wonderful. I can see my screen now. Thank you so much for joining. I'm so excited that you're here. I'm excited to talk about your ideas in Adalo and how we can actually build mobile apps without using any code. So my name is Lacey Kesler. I am the head of education at Adalo. I am extremely passionate about no code, passionate about education. My background is in product and software engineering, and I bring all of that to the table using that knowledge to build apps on Adalo. So what is Adalo? Adalo is a mobile app and web app builder that allows you to take all of your ideas, your concepts in your head and bring them to life. They can live in the Apple Store and the Google Play Store as well, and online as well. We have progressive web apps. So it says go full screen. I am full screen. I'm just going to keep going. So let's talk about an idea. So when we think about web apps, mobile apps, we tend to have these ideas. If you're watching this, you're probably a person that has a lot of ideas, and ideas are great. And those are things that we need to gain momentum to start building. But we need to clear a couple of hurdles before we get into that in order to have a good app. So what constitutes a good app? A good app is going to solve a problem, and it's something that people are willing to pay for. So you can have all sorts of app ideas, but if it's not solving a problem or something people are willing to pay for, you're likely wasting your time building it. Now, let's talk about some good idea examples. Now, you could build an app that schedules sessions for a gym, that serves as an internal tool for your company, or an e-commerce app that allows you to buy apparel online. All of these solve a problem and are something that people are willing to pay for because it's doing work for them. Now let's talk about like a bad idea. So I actually went into Reddit, and I'm going to show you some of these ideas here in a minute, but a bad app does not provide any value, and it's something that people are not willing to pay for. It's just kind of a dud. It's not going to work. You're going to spend a lot of time on it, and you're not going to get the desired outcome that you're looking for. So like I said, I went and I was like, what kind of bad app ideas are out there? I'm just curious. And I came across some that were actually pretty comical. And it was like, a bad app is a bottle opener. A bad app is a whoopee cushion simulator, or a bad app is a app that randomly texts your ex. So like all of these, they're funny, and some of them are absolutely totally useless, but they're not good app ideas. They're not solving a problem, and they're probably not something that anyone's going to actually pay for. So how do we generate good app ideas? How do we get to the point where we're like coming up with these profitable app ideas, these solutions that are going to actually work for us? So we're going to look for problems to solve. And I think sometimes we can get caught up in this idea that we need to create the next unicorn. We need to create the next it app. And in reality, yeah, you can do that, but you're going to have and find so much more success if you look for problems to solve and they're all around you. You could look at your own community right now and think about, okay, local restaurants, they have delivery or online ordering pickup needs. You know, like we're still social distancing. We're still not at 100% capacity right now. So you could go and build an app and then take it around and sell it to all of these restaurants. They're all using the same app, and you are just white labeling it and keeping it going. You could create a marketplace to buy and sell goods for a specific type of niche. You could look into booking and scheduling apps for service providers. I know the gym that I go to, I use an app. Different appointments that I have, I schedule on an app. These are all very real use cases and things that we've seen successful with Adalo. Also, you could look at building internal tools for yourself and your company. I built myself an app just to keep track of things that I'm working on. I'm into like a lot of weightlifting right now. So like I'm keeping track of my weights, my food. These are just things that help me, but they also make me more comfortable with building because I'm doing it constantly. And let's talk about now, like, it look like to validate your idea? So let's say, okay, you've kind of niched down, you're thinking, okay, I'm going to go in this direction. I think I've got some ideas of what this might look like, but how do I know if this is actually valid? Like, how do I know it's going to work? So this may seem really simple, but you need to talk to your ideal customers. We can't build anything in a vacuum. We can't just go and say, okay, I've got this idea. I'm just going to go build it and they're going to show up. It doesn't work that way. Like you're not some massive chain. You're not some big entity that's just going to have this market share that you're going to build something and people are going to automatically consume it. That's just not how it works. So when we're talking about like how to talk to your ideal customers, here's some examples and things that I do. I also consult startups and build products. And these are things that have worked really well, things that we've also seen work really well inside of Adalo. And you need to go where your ideal customer is. This is networking. And it's kind of weird right now because we're not really, all in person. But you can go online to Facebook groups, Twitter. You can look at Instagram. Like I have a friend who created an entire 200 list product that basically says, here are pain points that they've seen pop up over Twitter. And you can look at different problems to solve. Because when you're thinking of building something, you're looking for a problem to solve. So once you've talked to your ideal customer and you're kind of honing in more, you need to become an expert at their pain points. You need to be very, very aware of where they're struggling so that you know how you can help them and what kind of software you need to build that's going to alleviate those pain points. And then that's going to develop a hypothesis of, okay, I've got this now, I've talked to these people, now I know here's how to go and solve their problem. And then another thing I very strongly suggest, is look for existing solutions that are already in place, software that already exists, that it's like, you know what, I can make this better. I can add additional features, or I can maybe even remove some features. Like there are a lot of apps that are very bloated and things that is just too much, it's too clunky. So you could even skinny it down and take away some features and things that are really going to make your app stand out. Maybe it's a better UI UX experience. Software is iteration. So it can always be improved upon and always be better. And then lastly, you're going to want to build, show, and iterate, which means you're going to go and you're going to build out your first version of this software. Then you're going to take it back to your ideal customers and say, what do you think? How's this working? Then you're going to iterate on that feedback. And this is a constant loop that happens within software development. Software is never fully finished being developed. You don't just develop software and stick it on a shelf and okay, we're done, never going to touch it again. That's not what makes great software. Great software is an iteration over time with your customers of their growing needs. So let's talk about how we're going to get started. We've talked about ideas, talked about what to do. And so next, we need to address these three things that come up a lot within different makers that I encounter, within Adalo, within my online communities that I'm in. And this first one is addressing your fear. And this may seem a little bit hokey to put in here, kind of ridiculous, right? But you would be surprised at how many people just have these ideas, but they're so afraid to get started. They're so afraid of failing. They're even afraid of success because they don't know what to expect. You're brand new at this, and that's perfectly fine. I think the biggest thing that you can give yourself is the ability of knowing that you're not going to just nail it the first time around. And that's okay. Like I mentioned earlier, software has versions. We use Facebook and Instagram right now. How those apps look and operate now is not how they looked and operated when they were first released. So give yourself that running room and understand that this is a process and you have plenty of space to grow and learn along the way. And to that point, it is so much easier to address those fears when you are active within a supportive community. There are so many supportive communities online of app builders who are working together to help each other with their ideas. They're working together to solve problems. They are cheerleading one another on in their process. And it really takes away the aloneness and the fear when you're working together within a community and not building in a vacuum just by yourself. And the last thing is to choose your tool. There are so many tools out there that you could choose from, ranging from, like automation tools to app builder like Adalo to website. All of these tools are out there, and you need to go and be very particular about the type of tool that you choose while realizing that you are learning and growing in this, and don't put so much pressure on yourself to get it right the first time. Remember, software is iterations. So it's going to take some time to find your groove, but these tools are out there for you to use. They're awesome. And then what we're going to do next is we are going to build a food truck app. It's built, but I'm going to walk through exactly how it's done so that you can see what it looks like to build an app without coding. And then at the end, I have a coupon code for all of you to use to get some money off of your Adalo trial. So let me switch over here if it will let me. Make sure you can still see my screen. Okay, so this is inside the Adalo editor. We're on the Adalo canvas here. And Adalo operates, if you've ever used design software, it has a lot of similarities within different design software. So Adalo will automatically start out when you create a new app. It's going to give you a sign up screen and a login screen. It's also going to give you a users collection. This is our visual database. So don't worry if you've never seen a database before, you don't know even really how it operates, we're totally fine. But this is all connected and working together. And these screens, as you can see, these lines here, they're connecting the screens to one another and actually pushing the data through the app. And let's go in and preview this, and we're going to kind of jump in and out. This is the previewer. So on this is a food truck app. And what we want to do is to be able to select a food truck and order some food and know when it's going to be available for us to have. So we're going to click to view the menu, and then we can see that we have the menu right here and of all the different things. And this, in case you're wondering, so we have this menu item here. I'm going to go back into our database and show you, here's our menu items. These are in our records, and these are accessible from the database. Go back into preview, view the menu again. Okay, and then let's start our order. All right, that all looks good. And then now we can add menu items to our order. And then we'll go to checkout. We can add additional notes. We can even add in a way to calculate the tip and the tax. And then we could enter our credit card information and handle all of this inside of our app. And then let's go back one. If we had any orders, they would show here on our screen. So setting this up is really just using screens and linking them together so that we have a continuous flow of our app. Let's look at some of the different screens that we have here. So we have screens for food trucks, like I showed you before when we first went into the app. That was the very first thing we saw was the food trucks. And these are called components, and they are pulling and linking to our database. So you can see it says, what is this a list of? And we'll go into our database and see that we have it connected to our food trucks collection. Same for our menus detail screen. This list is linked to menu items, and we can we have a set pickup time screen, and this is fun. This is a component that allows it's like a progress component. So as you're moving through the app, you can see where you are in your progress of ordering your food. And then we have another screen over here that displays the food that you've ordered, any notes that you want to pass through, your tax amount, your tip amount. All of this is being calculated inside of Adalo, and then a way to have your payment come through. Then we have another screen over here that's showing that your order was successful. And let me zoom in here so you could see. This screen would show the orders that have come through and what you paid for them, or it would show that you didn't have any orders yet. So to build this out, and this would look like, is Adalo operates off of components and screens and actions. So we have these pre-built components that are available in the majority of every single app, so that you're not having to go in and design each one of these each time. So you have text, button, simple list, an app bar. We have different ones for navigation, for lists. We have different kinds of lists. You could have a bulleted list, a card list, image, avatar, different kinds of buttons for you to use and icons. We have some, if you want to get into some more advanced design, you can use our rectangle, ellipse, the line, and bring in your own vector as well. And then we have forms and fields. And these are all just drag and drop onto your app screen. This isn't actually how you do it, but you can see that you would just drag it on there, and then you can connect it to your database. We also have screens, and these are broken down into a few different ways. We have simple screens. So if I wanted to add this screen to my app, I could do that, and it comes pre-populated with this card list so that I'm not having to build it each time. Let's go back to our screens here. We have info screens, intro screens, basically any kind of screen you can think of, we have, and then some miscellaneous screens. And another really fun thing about Adalo is that we have a marketplace for your own components. So if we were to click right here to explore the marketplace, we would see that we have access to additional components that we can pull inside of our app. Now, these are built using React. So if you were to use Adalo and say, okay, I need some additional functionality here that's not provided by Adalo, you could partner up with a developer to develop these components and have them custom made for your app. These really supercharge your app and really set Adalo apart, because we are no code, and we marry that with a coded solution because we believe that you should have access to both when you're building your app. Okay, now I am going to jump into the comments. I know I've just thrown a lot of information your way. Let's see here. Okay. See some stuff coming through while that's loading. Let me take you over and show you what it looks like to work on branding within your app. So we like to keep it really simple inside of Adalo so that you don't get overwhelmed with all of these options and really lose kind of the focus on what your app needs to be. So we give you the options to set your colors and your custom fonts within Adalo. We also give you some tips of picking out your typography so that you can just get started right away and you're not getting bogged down with an overwhelm of colors and fonts, and then your app doesn't have this cohesive flow that you're looking for it to. Additionally, you can see all of your screens within your Adalo app, and you can also add screens from this page. And this is the database that I was telling you about earlier that I was kind of jumping in and out of. So all apps, all software is based off of databases. And I know that if you're not coming from a traditional background, databases can be really scary because you don't understand how to set up a database, how to manage it, and create proper relationships. And so one of the things that's really cool about Adalo is we have a visual database. And so once you set up your properties, and a property is just basically a way of saying, what information do you need to have and collect, and how is that information categorized? So if I were to add a property, I could see, okay, let's say I wanted to, on this menu item here, let's see, we've got description, price. Okay, let's say I wanted to go in and say, do you want this menu item to be spicy or not? So I'm saying, is this going to be true or false? So is this going to be happening or not happening? So I could set a true or false property. And say whether or not it's spicy. And then I could go drop this into my screen, and this will show in the records whether or not something is spicy. It would be checked if it was yes, and then it would not be checked if it was no. And so being able to view your database visually with all of your properties and records together, I think really helps kind of concrete in your mind what a database looks like. And if you'll notice, the way our database is laid out is a lot like an Excel spreadsheet. That's really like the very beginning of no-code tools is Excel, because it's rows and tables. You're holding data and then running manipulations on that data. And then we're simply putting a user interface on top of it as you interact with it. Pull this up here. Okay, I have a question that says, what are the limitations with your platform, and can you export the code? So let me speak to the second one. No, you cannot export the code from our platform. We do publish to iOS, Android. It lives here within our platform. And then as far as limitations, that's a very broad question. So maybe a little bit more details of can you do this or that would help me out kind of understanding what your use case might be for, I guess, what you're thinking in terms of limitations, Chris. Okay, so that's just like a quick overview of our database. There's a lot to learn about databases, a lot of information that we're going to roll out to help you understand how to use a database for the purpose of your app. And then here we have our app settings. This is where you would add your app icon. If you were doing some analytics, like a mixed token, you could add those here. Your display settings, we do allow for you to show how the screens are linked, and then also who can access your app and whether or not it's clonable. You can also make a copy of your app and delete it. And then here's where you would publish your app. So this would be either Android, iOS, or a progressive web app. And we take you through the steps on each one of these of how you would publish that and push that through. And then here we have a way for you to see analytics of what's happening inside of your app. We give you some different options to look at your users, signups, screens, users by location, and devices. And you can set this over a period of 3 days to all time. You can customize that. And then another, as I showed you before, we can preview our app, and this allows us to walk all the way through our app just as a user would. I'm already logged into this app, but if you had not logged into this app, you would be taken immediately to the sign up screen, so you can sign up, use, log in, and then go through and use your app. And then if you wanted to share your app, you would click this button. You could take this link and share it. You can also scan to install the app. Okay, let me go back to, clarification on limits. Okay, so Chris is asking clarification on limitations, user limits, scalability, always hosted on our platform versus deployed to something like AWS, any use cases that are not a good fit for Adalo. Okay, so user limits, no, we don't have any user limits. We do get questions about scalability quite often, and I know that this is a top of mind concern for people who are building their apps. We do not have problems with scalability. Adalo can definitely handle scalability. I think the concern, and I say this as a maker, not just someone like representing Adalo, I am far more inclined to encourage makers to get your first sign up, get 10 signups, get 100, get 1,000 before you kind of start going down this rabbit hole of scalability, because you're trying to solve a problem that's in the future that you probably don't have right now and won't have for some time. And so I know that that's a bit direct, but it's something that makers kind of get caught up in and kind of get stuck on. And they're like, well, I may not be able to grow in this platform. And I think let's just see how you grow it first, because that's really the starting point, and that's going to give you the metrics to see whether or not this is going to be a good solution. Any use cases that are not a good fit for your solution. So right now we don't have like making games on Adalo. That's something I think that we're talking about, but that's like the first thing that's coming to mind. If you are curious to see what kind of apps have been built using Adalo, let's go here real quick, and I'm going to show you. These are made in Adalo apps, and you can see what different members of our community have made. And then you can also go down to what you can make. And this will answer a lot of those questions on, okay, well, I've kind of got this idea of some functionality in my head. Would this work? And then we also have some templates for you to get started. Templates are an excellent way for you to learn the platform really quickly. What you can do is go grab one of these templates and then open it up inside the Adalo editor and start seeing how screens are connected, start seeing how the database is set up, seeing what actions and what buttons are doing. And that's going to help you really get a leg up of learning much quicker, rather than like just kind of starting out with a blank canvas and feeling like a flood of, not knowing what to do, how to structure this data, how to go forward. This is an excellent way to start. Okay, so as I said, there is a coupon code here for you. This is good through the end of the month. This will give you 50% off of 2 months of Adalo, so that you can go in, test it out. We also have a free tier, but this pro plan is going to give you access to all the functionality inside of Adalo. And I went through this so much faster than I intended to. So if you have any additional questions, I'm happy to hang out for a bit and talk to you about those and go forward. I'm a very fast talker, Laurel.
Yeah, I see. It's all good. Well, good. I'm glad this is some really good information. I have some of my own questions just about Adalo in general as well.
Yeah.
So what I would ask is, can you build complex enterprise level applications without coding on Adalo?
Yes. Yes. So I really wish I could tell you some of the huge companies that we're working with right now to build these complex enterprise level apps that will be coming out soon. But yes, absolutely you can. And we have some government agencies that we're working with that are using no code, using Adalo because they're seeing how advantageous it is for them to get in and build and start shipping right away. So yes, absolutely.
Now, would Adalo be something good to use if you are building something for a government type agency?
Sorry, can you say that again?
I'm sorry, would Adalo be a good platform to use or a good tool to use if you are building something for or have an idea for a government agency to build it on Adalo, or are there certain restrictions with that?
Yeah. So we do have some restrictions as far as privacy and the data that's going back and forth. However, like reach out to us if that's something that you're considering doing, and we can talk through some limitations that maybe Adalo might have or you might have and see what a solution could happen there.
Yeah, good. And I'm just going to keep shooting questions at you since we have time. So
Yeah.
Are there any customizable restrictions that you find that some of your users may have had in the past? And what are the most common customizable features? If you want to show any of those or anything like that as well, what are some of those?
Yeah. So one thing, let me go back into here. So we operate a lot, like we have these components that we use. Can you see my screen?
Yep, I see it.
Okay, perfect. Okay. So we operate off of these components to allow you to just start right away. We have different ways. Let me pull up, where's my custom list? So let's say like on these lists, we have a bunch of different lists of how you're going to display the data. And so if you're like, well, that's great, but I need something more custom. So then you would just build out a custom list. You're not bound to these components. If you want to go in and start doing kind of, let's see where some of those like are simple. Sorry, I can never type once people are watching. I can't even find what I'm looking for. But so what will allow you to do is like you can go in and you have full like design control over it. So we offer these components as a way for you to just jump in and get started, but you can definitely go in and customize them however you'd like. And then because we have the marketplace, you can go and have like if you need a specific component made for you, you can work with a dev shop, or we could recommend some devs to you who can build something specific that you can put on top of your Adalo app. So like these have been made like by our community and different developers and by some of our internal team of just different components that you can have within your app.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Another question I had as well was what different tools does Adalo also integrate with, and what are some of the most common tools that Adalo integrates with inside the tool?
Yeah. So we integrate with a lot of tools. We do have an API. Very common tools that we integrate with are Zapier, Airtable. You could really do a lot of things. We have external collections and external users, which is in beta. So you can really start mixing together a number of tools as long as they have an API as well. You can really go to town on different tools. So we have people that use Adalo and Bubble, Adalo and Zapier, Adalo and Xano, Webflow. I mean, pretty much anything. If they both have APIs, you can just have a party with the tool.
Yeah, good. And another one that I had was, you get a lot of questions around security and data privacy and information, where that information is stored. And a lot of questions came up. We talked a little bit about this on the panel yesterday. What are some of those, common questions around data security, and how is Adalo answering those questions in terms of where that data is housed? And does Adalo own my product once I launch it on Adalo's platform?
Right. So let me answer second question first. We do not own your product. You own your product. We are merely just a tool to get you to build your product. You own everything, all of your data within that. As far as security, so it's funny that you bring this up, because I sit on a committee inside of Adalo, basically lining out, okay, here are guidelines, here's what we do, here's what we don't do. And as we're fleshing this out right now, so we are essentially governed by what Apple does and what Google does. So we can't do anything that they don't permit. So that's like, for starters, all of our content, anything in our apps, anything that's built is governed by what Apple and what the Google Play Store allow. As far as like security, all of that, that is definitely a question for our engineers, as far as like how it's stored and how it's transcribed and it goes from here to here and all of that. But I'd be happy to see if there's any information that we have that I could pass back to you if anyone has any questions, like specific questions. Or Absolutely. You can reach out to us. Like, we have an excellent customer experience team that would be more than happy to chat about it.
Yeah, and then you guys can also dive right in. If you create a profile on StartupStarter.co, you guys can also reach out to Lacey there. You can connect with her on LinkedIn. You can also reach out to her team inside of StartupStarter.co as well, if you guys have some great questions about it also. Another question I had is around extensions. Are there any type of vendor lock-ins where, say, for instance, I have a travel app that I've created, and within that travel app, I need to extend and have it go to a payment confirmation system of such, right? Or a third-party platform? Are there any limitations, or can I do that on Adalo's platform tool?
Yeah, so that's where your API would come into play. And it would just be dependent upon what that third-party API is looking to do. So we can transmit the data out. It's just essentially, how are they going to speak to each other, and what are the limitations on their API?
Perfect. And then how easy and seamless is it for someone who created their app on Adalo to actually deploy it into the App Store or the Android Play Store, Google Play Store, I should say? How easy is that to deploy? Is that something that you're able to show during this as well?
I can't show it because it would mean I would actually have to deploy it. But it's very easy. Like, we are built to deploy these apps. So that is something that's very front of mind for us when the software was being developed. And we have plenty of documentation support that goes along with deploying the apps, and how exactly to do that, how to build your test flight so you can go and test your app before deploying it. What does it look like when it goes into production? So, and we handle all of that heavy lifting. So all you do, essentially, like, if you can follow instructions, you can launch an app.
You can launch an app. It's easy, right? Easy. Everything's easy. Yeah, perfect. That's really good. Another question that I had was around the user access and support for the platform. What types of user support can people expect? Then I'll ask you another question as it relates to analytics.
Yeah, so we have a very active forum that people use for support. We have our customer experience team is also in there. And then we have a ticketing system where people can write in for support. We are working right now on our education to hopefully circumvent any problems that people would encounter. So we're teaching them the correct way to build, which is something that we've seen as a platform is definitely something to focus on. And then there's some like unofficial support, like Facebook groups, people on Twitter, some different things like that, communities that they could join.
Absolutely. See, perfect. And then in terms of the analytics, what are the primary analytics that most people are using and what they're looking at in terms of while they're building and just being able to go back and see what people have done on their app?
Yeah. So we provide these analytics right out of the box. So you could see your active users, users over time, switch to see how much time, all time, the last few days, what have you. You can see signups, you can see the most visited screens, then by location, and then the type of device that they're using as well.
Perfect.
And then we also have a mix panel integration that you could add in a token here and to get more information on how people are using your app by using that third-party service.
Oh, perfect. That's a great integration. Mixed panel is a really good one. And then also, so Adalo has some really cool trainings and some boot camps. I would love for them to hear like how that looks and how they can join or be a part of that to just learn more about how to utilize the platform.
Yes. So we are in the process of planning all of that right now and what that looks like. So when I came on in December, started the plans of what does it look like to have boot camps? What does it look like to have trainings, webinars, workshops, partnering with different tools. So we are close to rolling that out and getting that started so that we can have more interaction with our makers and, be there to support them in their journey.
Perfect. And what would you say, for instance, to a company who has already started building, or they may have had hired someone to already write code, and now they need to pivot to something more no code? Like, what kind of advice would you give someone who needs to make that change in the middle of what they've already started building and go onto a no code platform?
Yeah. So I think that that's a really difficult situation to be in because they've likely already spent quite a lot of money if they're seeing that they've already started with like a dev shop or an individual, and then now they're having to pivot. So first I would say, I'm sorry that that's your experience. Second, I would say, working with a no code tool, specifically with building apps, the beauty of no code and the beauty of Adalo, these platforms that are really honing in and coming into this space, is that they are meant for people who are considered not technical, which means that you don't need to have a dev team, an IT team, all of these, who would be considered highly technical people, which just means that they can write code or read it at least. This is meant for someone who doesn't have that background. So I think that there's a big level of these tools are meant to work for you to get you where you need to go as quickly as you can get there. So I would say, sorry about your disappointing experience. However, when you use these tools and these platforms, they are meant to be the most user-friendly to help you get where you're going.
Yeah, that's great. Great response, right? Sorry, but that you spent all that money, you got to come over to Adalo.
It's awful. It's awful. I mean, I've built products for people before who have spent, a lot of money prior to coming to me. And so it's bad, but it can be a good experience too. So it's just a big thing of learning.
So talk to us a little bit around how long has Adalo been around? What has the journey for Adalo been from where it was when it started to now? Give them an understanding of how much you guys grown and how many users you guys have using your product now. Right.
So fun fact. So Adalo launched in 2019 officially. And I know this because I was there accidentally. So I was at No Code Conf in 2019. Adalo was there too. I did not know the founders at that time. We were just kind of all we were in this no code space, just kind of bumping into each other and who's who and figuring it out. So they launched. And I remember this specifically because their website went down as soon as they launched on Product Hunt. And that was they were kind of freaking out because they're also about to present. And it wasn't the tool. Adalo, the tool, did not go down. It was just their their marketing site went down. and they just got like, rushed with so much traffic. And I remember seeing David, who's the CEO, across the room, and he's just like sweating bullets because he's trying to get this website back up because he's also about to go present, and like they're launching on Product Hunt and the website goes down. Like, that's terrible. So that happened in 2019. And then since then, Adalo has had very, very incremental growth since then. So I'm not sure where we're at with users, but I want to say it's a lot. I mean, I know it's far exceeded our expectations, but I don't remember off the top.
You have to throw that one out there.
Yeah. And so it's growing, and we have web apps and mobile apps. We're more focused on mobile apps right now, but we also are this year making a huge push on our web apps to get them more responsive designs and things that we've talked a lot with our makers in the community about what they're looking for to roll those out as well.
Wow, it's amazing. Yeah, well, definitely. I think people will be excited about that. I'm sure you guys will have a huge launch in that direction of what's going on.
Definitely.
For someone who is brand new to Adalo and they want to, join and start using the platform, how long would you tell them, like, usually if they have their idea ready, they know what they want, they've kind of like pieces together in their brain, they may have written it out on paper, like how long will it take for them to start to be able to maybe deploy? What are you seeing some of these companies that are already live, like their time frame of getting it out there?
Yeah. It's a little bit difficult to say first, like across the board, because it depends on the kind of functionality that they're adding into their app. But I mean, I can tell you that we've had people build apps over weekends and deploy them. So it really depends on what they're building and how much functionality and involvement, and then also, what they're comfortable with in exploring. Like, do they need to connect to other tools? Are they looking to bring in data? Like, there's just a lot of pieces to it. But we've had people do it over a weekend. So that's pretty impressive. I mean, you can't do that with traditional code, like setting all this up. So not that fast. Yeah.
Now, when it comes to things like, a lot of people have had experience, a lot of people have known Squarespace or Wix, right? And like they have their own like iteration of, some portion of an app inside. Like, what sets you guys apart from what a web app creator, which where their main focus is creating the web app versus creating the actual app itself? Like, what do you find is the big difference in that?
Yeah. So a couple of things, primarily because we can be web and mobile, and you can share a database between a web app and a mobile app. So you can deploy your mobile app to, let's say, like the Apple Store, and then you can also share a database with your web app so that your users, your customers, are getting that same data is accessible, which is actually a really big deal. People don't appreciate it because they've never had to build a database and have them share between the two. So, but it's a huge deal. It's something that we as a company are very, proud to offer our makers. Another thing that really makes us different is our marketplace. So the ability that you can build a React component, have a React component built, and then add it on top of the app really is a game changer, because we provide like a huge foundational base. And so if you're only needing to have a component coded, that's going to be such a much shorter time than if you had to code the entire thing. So it gives you that flexibility of, you can take it to be as totally custom as you want, or you can use the pieces that we provide, marry the two. You're given a lot of options there.
Yeah, perfect. And then, as we discussed already, we have this during No Code Week, $1 promotion, 50% off of the first 2 months, available for the next 2 weeks. For people who are part of No Code Week, could you tell me a little bit more about the different plans? Like, you talk a little bit more about that, what those different plans, what those components are. If you want to, I can share your screen again if you want. And just kind of help them understand, like, if I was going for a free one versus a paid pro plan.
Yeah, definitely. Let's pull that up here. I'll show you. Okay, so our free plan allows you to go in, start building right away. You can publish to an Adalo domain if you want to. It does have our Adalo branding on it, and you are limited to 50 rows of data per app. But this allows you to go in, start playing around with the templates, start cloning things, start to get comfortable and see what we can do on the platform. And then the next one is $50 a month for the pro plan. Same thing, limited apps, but this you can publish to the Apple and Google stores. You could publish to your own custom web domain. We give you 5 gigabytes of storage, and then this is good for one person. And then lastly, it would be like a business plan, which is like more of like an enterprise type plan that has the same 3 things, but you get more data, more seats, and then someone to kind of walk alongside you, answer questions, help with builds, kind of show you the ropes on the best way to approach that build. So what we're offering is, I believe it's 50% off on the pro plan to get you started for the first 2 months that expires at the end of this month. I'm not sure if you are still there, Laurel. There. Oh, you're on mute.
I'm still here.
Okay.
So yeah, this is great. So tell us a little bit more about how people can get in touch with you, how people can follow you on Instagram and Twitter and LinkedIn, and
Sure.
just the best way to kind of find knowledge on you and any type of speaking areas that will be able to find you online.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm very active on Twitter. It's at Lacey Kesler on Twitter. And then Adalo is at Adalo HQ. I hang out on Twitter, talk to makers all the time on Twitter. I love talking with different people, talking about their app ideas. Don't hesitate to reach out to me there. And that's really kind of the only place I operate right now. My Instagram game is so bad. So I don't even know. I just know how to send tweets. That's all I do. But would love to chat with you over there, or, we have more information on Adalo.com about using the tool, different types of apps that you can use, functionality that we provide. So we are more than happy to help.
Yeah, and then they'll be able to keep in touch with you through there. She's, I guess, like she said, she's very active on Twitter. We followed you as well.
Okay.
So yeah, we love it all that you have been able to provide. And then I will drop this in the chat for everyone right now. And that way you guys, if you guys missed what we said, you guys can see it. So check this out. Follow her, follow Adalo, go to adalo.com. You guys can check it out. Join StartupStarter.co for even better experience for No Code Week, but also just check out how we are building a smart community with partnerships like Adalo and others. So check it out. Go back to the event page. There are more sessions today. Don't forget our next session coming from 2 to 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time will be with Doc Williams from Brand Factory. He will be building out Adalo live. He will actually build an app live for you guys for an hour. So check that out. Lacey, you've been great. Thank you very much for being on our panel yesterday.
Yeah.
Thank you for bringing Adalo to the Startup Starter community and No Code Week. And we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much.
Everybody check out the live session now, Low Code versus No Code.
All right. Bye.
All right, bye, Lacey.